All right. Hello, hello. Welcome to my Lunch and Learn, where each and every week we explore topics to help you elevate your mindset, be at your best, and radically expand your life. And today we're talking about confidence once again. And today we're looking at how you can train your brain to act, to think, and to succeed with absolute certainty. And if you've ever found yourself overthinking an opportunity, maybe doubting your abilities or hesitating to take action, only to watch someone else go further and faster and actually have the courage to go for it, today is for you because confidence is something that you can build. It is something that you can absolutely master if you're willing to do a few simple things. So, tell me where you're coming in from. And if you're tuning in by replay, type in replay in the chat. If it is your first time, type in first time in the chat because we want to thank you for being here. And I truly, truly do appreciate your presence. I appreciate you. And whether you're tuning in live or by replay. So some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm Larisa Makuch, and I'm Canada's leading abundance mentor. And we work with professional women that have beautiful lives on the outside and they're interested in personal growth and development because they know they are destined for more. They know that this is a beautiful world and they are here to make beautiful things happen in them. Now, when it comes to your mind, your brain is like a GPS. Okay. Your brain is like a GPS. And if you tell it where to go, it will go there. We say your conscious thinking mind is the goal setter that programs the GPS, and your unconscious heartfelt mind, right? The unconscious, the stuff that you know that ticks along below the surface, is the goal getter. So if you feed your mind certain things, if you're like, I'm not ready, I can't do this, or I don't know what to do, you're saying these things, even if it's a joke, even if you're pretending it's not real. But what you're doing is you're programming it with uncertainty. You're telling it where not to go, and you're not giving it any direction. But when you start programming it with certainty, with conviction, it will drive you to success. So I'm going to show you some simple ways that you can do that today. But I want to talk about what confidence is. Confidence is this feeling or this belief that one can rely on someone or something. Okay? It's a firm trust. It's that feeling of certainty about the truth. It's self-assurance, and where you truly have the ability to trust your own abilities and qualities. Now that sounds simple enough on the surface. However, it's not that easy to practice if you're not used to it. It is something that the more you practice, the easier it gets. And we're not born with confidence. It's something we develop. We are born with the image of perfection. However, as we're knocked down, as we have failures in our lives, if we don't keep moving with that authenticity and that certainty, we start to lose something. Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza, he is a neuroscientist researcher and best-selling author. He is known for a lot of his work on neuroplasticity and specifically the mind-body connection. And he really teaches people about how to rewire your brain for success. And so in his seminars, he provides cutting edge neuroscience with really practical techniques to help people break free from limiting beliefs, to help people create new empowered identities. And he actually has like science-based tools that track people's brain patterns, and they bring in these devices in the seminars to track the changes that people make over several days of meditating, over a short time period where they're applying these deep mindset tools and literally rewiring their neurology. It can take a while. It can happen very quickly. But when you are truly aligned and when you do some very simple things, you can absolutely change your destiny. Now, one thing that you want to know is your brain does not know the difference between a real event and a repeated thought. Okay, so your brain doesn't know the difference between what's actually real and what you make up in your mind. And so when you repeatedly think a certain way, over time your brain wires it as the truth. You literally brainwash yourself. So if you say condescending things or negative things about yourself, you over time will start to believe it. And the contrast is true as well. So let's say you repeatedly start taking actions all of a sudden. Like, let's say you want to gain more confidence in the area of money. You're doing great in many areas of your life, but your relationship with money, you're earning the money, you know how to earn the money, you know how to spend the money, very good at spending the money, but you're not really confident in growing your money or managing your money in intelligent ways. You want to build confidence, you start affirming your confidence with money by learning about money, by identifying and seeing yourself as a confident person, right? If you want to see yourself as confident with money, how do confident people with money behave? What actions do they take? What conversations do they have? Start embodying that identity. Practice good money management and money growth skills. And the more you keep practicing, the more evidence you're going to have that certain things are working. And so essentially, your thoughts create your reality. And if something isn't working for you, you want to start shifting your thinking from step one. Now, your brain is wired for survival, not success. And it is constantly looking for threats, past failures, and potential risks. And so there is a connection between your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your results. And if you want to have certain results in your life, in your health, in your wealth, in your business, in your finances, in any area of your life, then you can tell what your mental programming is, and you can follow the emotional chain by looking at those results. With those results, if you think I'm not good enough, you're going to start feeling anxious. You will hesitate, and then you will miss opportunities. Okay, so there's a chain. The thought, I'm not good enough, you feel anxious. The action, you hesitate and you miss opportunities. If you think, I always find a way, in contrast, you're like, okay, maybe this situation sucks, but I always find a way. I always find a way. And you start to feel confident emotionally. You're like, okay, I'm beginning to feel more confident because I always find a way. You may not know what that way is, but then you take action. You take those actions required to find a way. You might fall along the way, but then you get back up. You take an action and you get back up. And then over time, what you do is you build that success. And the self-talk you have inside shapes your future each and every day. The question is, are you reinforcing certainty or are you reinforcing self-doubt? Okay, so what's really important is you realize that your thoughts, they lead to your emotions or feelings, they lead to your actions, and those lead to your results. And so the more you realize there is a connection, the less you have to focus on just defaulting into doing mode. And you can really take a look at how you feel about certain things. You can start evaluating your thinking and go to the actual root cause of the results you desire, which are your thoughts. Now, why is repetition one of the secrets to confidence? Because you can build confidence by gaining competence. And the fact is, when something's new, you probably won't feel confident. Why? Because you don't know how to do it. You've never done it before. You don't have the competence to do what you want the confidence in yet. Doesn't mean you'll never get it. It just means you don't have it yet. And so when it comes to the neuroscience and research shows that neuroplasticity allows us to rewire our brains at any age. So neuroplasticity is this idea that your mind is like plastic and it's not fixed. Okay, your thinking isn't fixed, your ways of being aren't fixed. You can actually change how this works and how this operates at any age. And your thoughts can literally reshape your neural pathways. And so it's almost like your mind is a supercomputer and there are different and let's say electronic pathways that your brain takes to do a certain activity. So I'm gonna pick up this energy drink. Okay. So I picked it up with my left hand. It might be flipped on the screen. And I'll take a drink. And what's the neural pathway that's required for me to pick it up with my left hand and take a drink is going to be different than the neural pathway, easy for her to say, neural pathway with my right hand. Okay. I have to use, it's the same type of motion, but I have to use a different part of my brain. I'm much more familiar with using my left hand more familiar with my right hand. But when I use my left hand, I have to think so much more. I have to think a little bit differently. And a different part of my brain actually is working to make this happen. Now, they did years ago, Norman Deutsch wrote a book, The Brain That Changes Itself. And there was a study that they did with monkeys where they gave them use of one hand and they restrained the other. And they tracked the neural pathways and the brain activity that these monkeys used in order to perform certain activities using the right hand, just the right hand. Okay. And then a while later, after they were competent at using one hand instead of two to do their daily activities, what they did is they restrained that hand and gave them use of this other hand. There was an adjustment period. The brain didn't really know what to do initially. There was a learning period. It had to find a way to use this other hand, right? They had two hands, they had one hand. Now they have use of this other hand that's been restrained for so long. And so what they found is the brain had to find a new way of, they had new neural pathways in order to perform the same function, but simply with the other hand because it was a different device, different access points. Okay. Now, what was even more interesting is when they restrained that second hand and went back to the first hand, the initial neural pathways that were taken to perform those activities were no longer there. The monkeys had the brains, they had to retrain and relearn how to do those same activities back with the first hand. Might have been faster, but it wasn't the same pathway. It was a different pathway. And what's really profound about that is that your brain, it learns through repetition. Okay. And it can learn at any point in time. And the more you start stretching your brain and repeating things and reinforcing things, the more you're going to hardwire your brain for success. It's almost like if you were going to cut out little grooves. If you had there I saw a woodworking studio once, and if you just chip away at the wood, you make a little groove, and every time you chip, there's a deeper groove. Every time you chip away, there's a deeper groove. And it's almost like every time as you repeat certain actions, your brain gets a deeper groove. It gets more and more reinforced in this new pattern. And so it's really important that you realize that your brain isn't hardwired for self-doubt. You just been repeating a lot of these things, these doubtful phrases, so long and so often that they might feel automatic. But the good news is you can rewire it for confidence the exact same way by practicing new empowering thoughts daily, because your brain learns through repetition. Okay, so it might have an adjustment period. It might be a little uncomfortable. When you're first learning how to drive, you didn't feel super confident that first day behind the wheel, but through practice, after talking yourself through a little bit, it started to become second nature to the point where you just get in the car and drive. You don't think about all of the steps. You don't sit and adjust 10 things in your car just to make sure everything's in check. you unconsciously, you automatically get yourself ready to drive. Your identity is reinforced each and every day. So the more you think a thought, the more it becomes a belief that shapes your decisions. So quality is important, and also quantity counts, right? Quantity counts because you're reinforcing, reinforcing, reinforcing. And when you reinforce with emotion, it's even more powerful. And I so there one way of reinforcement is through affirmations or a concept called autosuggestion that Napoleon Hill used to say. So affirmations are words and phrases that you say from yourself to yourself, and you might say, I am really responsible with money. I'm learning to be an amazing money manager. I'm learning to become an intelligent investor. Wow, that's so cool. I'm learning to create my financial success. So affirmations are things that you want to, positive statements that you want to say from yourself to yourself. They work only when they're believable. So you must make sure these are true. I've done a lot of different talks on affirmations and some of my beefs with them. And I love affirmations when they're believable. So use them often. Make sure you actually buy into them. Now, autosuggestion is a concept that Napoleon Hill talked about in his book, Think and Grow Rich. It's a legendary piece of work. And he basically says that the more you do things, the more your subconscious will accept it. It's basically like digging that groove, digging that groove, digging that groove. When you repeat your affirmation and suggest it to yourself over and over and over and over and over again, over time, you will actually start to believe it. And then when you embody the identity, when one slight extra layer, when you truly embody the identity instead of just the action, right? We want to do the actions. It's so important, but when you truly step into the identity of this person, that's not just doing the things of a confident person, but is a confident person. Instead of I want to be confident, you say I am the kind of person who takes action even when I feel unsure. I am the kind of person who moves forward no matter what. I am the kind of person that embraces new learning opportunities. When you really look at the kind of person you are, and the identity statement after the I am is aligned and congruent with the confidence that you desire, it starts to magnify and it starts to amplify, because confidence is like a muscle. If you don't train it, it stays weak. But if you work on it daily, it truly does become second nature. So really important to know that your brain, right? Your brain, your neural pathways can and do change over time at any age, at any stage. So never think you're too young, never think you're too old, never think you're too in the middle and just complacent. If you truly want something, all it takes is a decision to get started and make it happen. Now, how do you shift from this I can't or I don't know to this I've got this confident mentality? So first thing is interrupt negative thought loops. You might catch yourself saying something that really isn't true and that totally isn't serving you. Like, I'm not ready. You just go, no way. You've got to break the cycle. Maybe I just clapped. Maybe you'll snap your fingers. Maybe you'll tap your thigh. I have a Staples Easy button. It's behind my computer somewhere on my desk. I can't access it, but it's the easy button that says that's easy, right? What kind of pattern interrupt can you do to catch yourself in negative thought loops? There was the one seminar I attended where we had elastics that were put on our wrists. Okay, they were bigger elastics, and every time we had a thought loop, we would snap them, and these were thick elastics, so they would really hurt, and some of our wrists got a little bit welty. However, the point isn't to hurt yourself. The point is to go, ooh, that was not a good thought, and to dissuade you and to condition you to stop thinking it, because we think these things automatically, and if there isn't something to just break the pattern, you don't stop. a very cool pattern interrupt one of my sitters showed my son. Instead of running into the street when he was younger, she'd stop at the corner and she'd stomp her feet 1, 2, 3 times. This is so simple. But when she stomp, stomp, stomp at the corner, it got him to stop at the corner when he was really young. And then he would actually look right and left before he crossed the street. And so stomp, stomp, stomp was fun. It was stomp, 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 but that was a pattern interrupt from his just bulldozing ahead because he's a little boy and he's in a hurry and he's got places to go. So when you have negative thought loops, things that just keep coming up, what can you do? What is something that's simple, that's natural for you that you can do to stop them and catch yourself? So, and shift yourself from this, perhaps I'm not ready, to I can figure this out. I'm capable of figuring this out. Maybe instead of when you fail, you're like, oh, okay, well, what if I fail? What if you are always looking for the worst case scenario? You go, wait a minute, like, is that really serving me? Stomp, stomp, stomp those feet. Well, what if it turns out even better than I imagined? Instead of what could go wrong, what could possibly go right? So start changing how you say things and interrupt these negative loops, these negative cycles that you find yourself in. Second thing, train your brain with progressive affirmations. And so if you're not feeling confident yet, instead of saying, I'm totally confident, and then your unconscious mind is like, no way, and you talk back to yourself, don't say, I'm totally confident, and feel like a liar. Because maybe you're not confident yet, but you could say, I'm learning to trust myself more and more every day. I'm becoming more confident with these actions I'm taking. Those could be truthful statements. Instead of, I'm a successful entrepreneur, if you're brand new to a new project or to the world of entrepreneurship, maybe you've got a corporate job and you're starting a side business. Maybe you're not successful yet. Well, I take daily actions that build my success. The more actions I take, wow, the more confident I'm becoming. How cool is that? I'm becoming an even more successful entrepreneur today than I was yesterday. So use progressive statements, use statements that lead you to where you want to go and affirm that truth, because affirming that truth that's en route to your goal, taking those aligned actions, a week or two later, you'll change your statement. A week or two later, you'll change your statement. A week or two later, you'll adjust and tweak that statement. And maybe within 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, you actually will be fearless and confident. You will be a successful entrepreneur. You will be able to embody that identity and that big statement that you desire. And then the last thing you got to remember is take action. Okay. Insight without action is worthless. You can do all the affirmations you want. You can try to break all the patterns you want, but if you don't actually do something about it, it can never happen. You'll never prove to yourself that this will work. You don't have to do it all in one day, but you do have to take the first step and the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step. It's kind of like lifting weights. You don't get strong by thinking about lifting. You actually have to lift the weights and do it. And it doesn't, you might feel something the next day, might feel like you've worked, but you're not going to build the muscle you desire in one workout session. You've got to build it one rep at a time and come back to it, come back to it, and come back to it. So this is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. So when you think of shifting yourself from I can't to I can, interrupt those negative thought loops. Train your brain with affirmations, but progress them along the way. Make sure you believe them. And third, reinforce confidence with action. And sooner than later, you will absolutely need a telescope to see how far you've come. Because your brain is a tool, and when you train it with intention, you will start shifting from hesitation to actual certainty. So if this makes sense to you, if this is resonating with you and you're like, I've got confidence in some areas, but there are just other areas where I don't have confidence in. And this makes sense in theory, but I don't know how to do this myself, but I'd love to do this more. I'd love to become more confident in my approach to my health, my approach to my wealth, my approach to my business, my approach to my relationships. It's not just a mechanical thing, it's about how you approach things from the inside. So if this is resonating and you want to build more confidence, you're probably confident in some areas already, but there's probably some areas you're not so confident in. And if you want to elevate those, I'd love to offer you a free conversation, a free discovery call. There's no obligation, but we can do a confidence audit just somewhere in the application form. Mention confidence audit, and then we will definitely talk about this and really look at what it will take to get you from where you are to where you want to be in an authentic and integrity filled way. We will look at your current dreams and desires in terms of where you want to build that confidence. Is a purpose, well aligned plan. So in schedule myself and a confidence audit call in the chat. Okay, so mention call in the chat, and my team or I will be in touch to help you set that up. It is absolutely free, and you have 30 minutes. These are super, super insightful, and I'd love to gift that to you. So, building, make sure to keep noticing when things coming up and stopping these negative loops. Train your brain each and every day. Train just like an athlete would train for their sport, and reinforce your confidence with action. Even if it's small, take that next step and the next step and the next step. So we'll be back again. Hope this has been helpful. I'll be back again next week with another insightful topic, and have yourselves a beautiful, beautiful day. If you want to chat, if you want to book a call